The snap at the end of Avengers Infinity War is perhaps one of the most destructive events in the history of the MCU, only surpassed by the multiversal decimation at the end of the previous multiversal war, which as of now has only been referenced and never seen. With a seemingly random assortment of half of all MCU cast members turned to dust, the universe was thrust into utter chaos. Governments collapsed, economies were ravaged, and the subsequent calamity all but ravaged the remaining heroes. Though Thanos claims to have sought a random, dispassionate genocide, is it possible that he actually allowed a specific handful of heroes to live? Well, stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, because today we'll be exploring the popular fan theory that a few of our favorite heroes may have survived the decimation not by chance, but because Thanos specifically allowed them to live. First off, let's address which heroes we're talking about specifically. For this video, we will be focusing on Thor, Nebula, and none other than Tony Stark himself, but we will also be touching on a mini theory regarding the fourth Avenger at the end of this video, so be sure to stick around for that. The catalyst for this theory comes from Thanos' devotion to his goal, and the idea that he is not only a genocidal warlord, but is also a man of his word. We know that Thanos never taught Gamora how to lie, and seeing as Thanos seemingly taught her everything he knows, it stands to reason that Thanos is not used to lying, and likely is normally honest and honors his deals. In Endgame, Nebula even goes as far to say that her father, Thanos, is many things, but a liar is not one of them. But what deals are we referring to that he may have made? Well, we are referring to the idea that he agreed to spare these individuals in exchange for an Infinity Stone at various points throughout the film, that being Infinity War, and that he may have either consciously or subconsciously developed a desire to let these heroes survive the decimation and the snap. If he consciously decided to allow these heroes to live, it would speak volumes about Thanos' character and nobility, and if he unconsciously wished for these heroes to survive the snap as a direct result of him letting them live throughout the course of the film, then the stones likely would have had picked up on this idea. In the opening minutes of Avengers Infinity War, Thanos is seen decimating the ship known as the Statesman, more commonly known as the Asgardian refugee vessel. He beats down the Hulk, utterly annihilates the Asgardian people, and kills Loki before destroying the ship and making his way to nowhere. But before he does, he tortures Thor and threatens Loki with his brother's death. He offers Loki a chance between his brother's life, or the Tesseract, ultimately driving Loki to reveal the Space Stone in his possession, though it is important to note he not only ambushed Thanos with the Hulk, but also attempted to stab Thanos, and while these likely might invalidate the deal for someone else, he did pull the Tesseract from wherever he had hidden it, and directly allowed Thanos to take it after his battle with the Hulk. If Thanos did decide that Thor's life was worth sparing at the moment of the snap, it would have been a compelling character choice, seeing as Thor was actively taunting the Mad Titan after embedding Stormbreaker into his chest, though it very well could have been subconscious like we mentioned previously. In Nebula's case, there are three theories as to how she survived the snap. The first was pure chance, that she was one of the lucky 50% that survived, and there was nothing else to do with it. The second is that since she is more machine than biological matter, the snap didn't register her as an organic being, and thus she was unaffected. The third theory, however, is what we will be looking at today. Much like the situation aboard the Statesman, Thanos tortures Nebula in order to force Gamora to give up the location of the Soul Stone. If he again honors his word, he may have decided to allow Nebula to remain safe from the snap. Even subconsciously, Thanos could have developed an unconscious desire to let his word remain true and allow those he bargained with to survive. And even if he did not realize this, and this was the case when he was doing the snap, it could have allowed them specifically to be unaffected, as his subconscious will was taken into effect by the stones. Now, let's move on to Tony Stark, which is probably the clearest example of the three, especially since Thanos was ready to not only kill Tony, but completely annihilate him, going against his desire to avoid killing by whatever means necessary, and instead resorting to obliterating an injured Tony Stark. Only upon retrieving the Time Stone from Doctor Strange does Thanos retreat and let Stark live, even though we theorized that Tony was the only Avenger that Thanos actually feared, and believed to be a true threat to his plan. If Thanos' word means that much to him, then perhaps it warranted Tony Stark's survival. This also spawns from a mini theory that we will be touching on briefly. The mini-theory claims that there was a fourth Avenger who was exempt from the snap's judgment, and this Avenger in question was none other than Ant-Man himself, Scott Lang. When the snap occurred, Scott Lang was in the quantum realm, a dimension that we know that time and space work very differently. If the effects of space and time were irrelevant to Scott, then that effectively renders at least 2 of the Infinity Stones null. And if Scott cannot be reached by the power of all 6 stones, then perhaps the snap never ran the risk of affecting him to begin with, which is a theory that I personally love. There is also the possibility that Scott had already traveled forward in time by just a few minutes, hours, or days, depending on when he fell into the time vortex. Scott was warned of time vortexes just moments before he went in, meaning he likely didn't know what they looked like or how to detect them. If the snap judged all organic life forms at a specific moment in time and used this information to decide who lived and who died, then Scott may have actually skipped this point in time entirely, thus making the snap, for lack of a better term, blind to his very presence, because he wasn't actually there at the moment when the snap occurred. It is also interesting to consider what would have happened to the likes of Vision and Ultron had they been alive during this event. We theorized in a previous video that the Mind Stone is what grants sentience to machines and creates the differences between an AI like Jarvis or Friday and a more human-like machine such as Vision or Ultron. If you're interested in a full breakdown of this theory, see our video on how Ultron and the Kree Supreme Intelligence are related. But seeing as we don't get a clear look at any sentient machines or synthezoids during the snap, this part must unfortunately remain purely speculative. But seeing as they are not biological organic matter, they may very well have been safe from the effects of the snap. This part all depends on what the stones define as life, and whether or not Vision's humanity and capacity for emotion constituted him being a living being, or if they operated on a strict adherence to biological composition. But we will leave that up to you. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this theory? Do you think that these particular Avengers survived due to pure chance, or was there something else at play here? Also, what do you think would have happened to Vision or Ultron if they had been alive during the snap? Do you think they ran the risk of being destroyed by the Infinity Stones just like any other being? Or would they have been safe seeing as they are machines and not made of biological matter? We'd love to hear your thoughts on these theories down below. As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.